Okay, I've removed all the spark plugs now. They all came out fine. They're all pretty oiled up, as I was expecting, because the engine's been burning oil, which is the whole reason we're taking this engine apart. I'm taking the top end off at least. Okay, so what we're going to do now is remove the rocker box covers and the cylinder head really at the same time. So what we've got is we've got these 4 outer cylinder head studs with nuts on. Then we've got 8 cylinder head studs which go through the rocker boxes, through the cylinder head and into the barrel. And then we've got 4 rocker box studs. They only hold the rocker boxes on, they go from the rocker box into the head and that's it, so they don't go through the head into the barrel. But then on the inside each rocker box excuse me, there are 3 Allen bolts inside the lip of the rocker boxes, and we need to remove those first. Otherwise, when we take out all the bolts, then those 3 Allen screws are going to be taking all the stress of the rockers and everything, and it can break the rocker boxes and cause all sorts of problems. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the rocker box covers so we can get to those 3 Allen screws inside, remove those, and then we can remove the rest of the cylinder head studs. So let's have a look. I've got my, I'm going to have a go at using my zapper. So the general rule is outside in. So to avoid warping on anything, you start from the, always do the outer ones first and then move to the centre. Yep. And these are UNF threads. Now, for reasons unknown to me, these 4 corner rocker box threads, instead of being UNC, UN coarse, they're UNF, UN fine. UN, I can't think of what it stands for. United, can't think. But I don't know why they're fine threads, because normally when you bolt into alloy you use a coarse thread because it's soft, and a fine thread will strip. But anyway, there we go. Right, what we got? Magic rubber mallet, and of course there it comes. So the rocker box here, that's the exhaust rocker box. They are actually marked EX. They are different. Okay, so that's the exhaust rocker box cover, and that's the inlet rocker box cover. I'm going to bag all these up. That's your rule number 1. Your freezer bags, rocker box, marker pen, exhaust, rocker cover. I don't really need to write that on because obviously it's very obvious what they are when you look in the bag, but just for good practice I'm writing them on. Okay, seal them up, stops any nuts and bolts falling out. Good practice, keep everything together. Right, where are we? We've done that one. We're going to do the other side. It's great having these impact guns. You don't need them, but it's so much easier, so much faster if you do it. There we go. Hello. Hello. Blimey. It's a while since this one's been on. Right, you've got to be really careful when you're whacking things with a hammer. Never ever whack the fins. I'm hitting where the studs are. Right, I won't be hitting there because that'll snap straight off. Okay. Try hitting down. There's a lot of fins and up, but you do not want to be whacking. That sounds like it might be going. You do not want to be whacking on fins. Not in, not side. In this case, sideways on the fin. You can hammer on the edge of the fins like this. It's thinking about going, that, isn't it? You hear that cracking sound, but it's not going. Come on, chaps. What we do not want to be doing now is getting our screwdriver out and leaving it apart, because then we are going to leak forevermore in a day. And when we put it back together, there'll be someone saying, these British bikes, they don't half leak oil, you know. Because someone tried to lever the cases apart with a screwdriver. And that's why they leak. But I am going to use a screwdriver. Which in my case is an old screwdriver, because there's a lip there, right? So I'm not putting it down there, bang, in between the faces, never on the faces, but I'm just going to, there, just because it was standing proud, I could just push it away. And just give it a light tap. Well, this gasket does not want to let go. Right, and there I think you can see, you should be able to see these three Allen screws here on the inside lip. It's very hard for me to see what's on this camera. It's almost impossible because the back of the camera, you know, the way you normally look at, it's got the bracket for the tripod on it, you know, that holds the camera in place. There's a huge great like bracket like that. The camera's like there. So if I look at the camera, all I can see is the bracket. But I'm hoping you can see those anyway. Righty-ho. Bag these. I should be tagging it, but I'm not going to tag it because it's very obvious what it is. It says on it inlet, so if there's any confusion I can read that. And because I tagged the other bag as exhaust, then this one has to be inlet really. But to be honest, I should be tagging it. Okay, so then we've got these, we need to remove these Allen screws. Come on. I didn't think that was going to go for a minute. The head looks a bit chewed on that. Blimey. Oh dear. Right. There we go. Again, short sharp. If it won't go, short sharp rather than long pull. Always better. So someone's done these up with a vengeance. Oh dear. come on. Right, I might have to get my, no, I don't know if I can. It's alright, I've got some sockets, but the rockers are in the way. So I really just want to be using the Allen key. I don't know if I can get the socket, but then I can get the socket on there. Ooh, that's one. I really want to do that one, so I'm just worried that they're a bit gone, those heads. There we go. There we go. These are tight, and these are really tight. Someone didn't want these to come out. Well, I'm trying to stop oil leaks, I guess. They could be sealed in, but they're certainly done up tight. And by the by, we'll be doing it later on, but underneath these Allen screws rather, are 3 aluminium crush washers, and they must be renewed really when we rebuild it. The thing is that people don't realise they're in there, because they actually look like, when they're crushed down, they actually look like part of the rocker box, and people don't realise that they're actually in there. What you need to do is prise them out, and then fit new ones when you reassemble it. Right, we've got the Allen keys loose. We're now going to loosen the head studs. Now I'm going to do the rockers. I'm going to do the rockers first, the 4 rockers, because I don't want to put strain on the rocker studs. Using the old zapper, they don't put up any resistance. There we go. Now we've then got the 10 cylinder head studs that go through. Some go through the rocker box down into the barrel. So we've got the 4 outer ones, which are actually nuts on a stud, that just go through the cylinder head into the barrel. And then we've got 8 that go through the rocker boxes and the head down into the barrel. Okay, so we're going to loosen those off, and generally again we start from the outside and work in. So we've got these 4 outer, they're 9/16 I think they are. Yeah. They shouldn't be too tight. Yeah. And then we've got the 1/2 inch. Oh, that one's already loose. I haven't seen that tight. No, that's a bit tighter. Okay. Right, good. So we're going to carry on loosening these now, and what's going to happen is they're going to be pushed off, because we've still got the rockers attached, and some of the rockers will be fully down, and so they'll be wanting to push the rockers off the cylinder head. Do these are well loose. Right, I'll do the Allen screws. Don't forget doing those. Let's have a look. They're okay, not too tight. It's alright, you've got to remember to keep loosening everything off as you go down. Someone scratched in on that rocker box. I might be wrong, but I think they're not marked as inlet and exhaust, but you can only fit them one way round because that's the the rocker feed. So if you put them that way, then you get the rocker feed. You can't put them on backwards, as long as you know that the rocker feed goes on the timing side. I haven't said that, I'm sure. Some people have done it somewhere. Right, I'm just going to change gloves so I don't get too much crud on my impact driver. It's alright, it's always a bit messy, especially this engine. It's pretty, obviously it's had a few oil leaks and so on, so I always wear gloves these days, because back in the day I used to use a certain green hand cleanser without gloves, and I'd use not gloves, and then I just use a SWAT oil figure, and I suddenly looked at my hands one day and they were completely gone, dry. It was horrible, and all the skin, I lost all my fingerprints. Yeah, so I'm a bit more careful these days. I don't use strong garage cleaners, especially green stuff, because it does mess up your skin. But hey, we have lift off, quite literally. This end of the rocker box has come up. Obviously that valve must have been open. Okay, keep going. Okay, I'm going to take these Allen screws out now, fully. Yeah, got the crush washers. I can see the crush washers, but some people don't realise they're in there, and then they either don't renew the crush washer, or they put the crush washer in over the top of the old crush washer, which isn't great. And again, they'll leak, because they can really leak down these Allen screws. It's a classic place for them to leak. Again, mainly because people aren't aware about the crush washers. What I always do, I always put, well, people put a blob of silicone, or I put thread lock on them. Stop the oil, because the oil seeps, because of course they're sitting in oil the whole time, these. And the oil works its way down the threads, gets past those crush washers just a little bit, and it works its way down the thread. So you put a blob of silicone, or I put thread lock on, and just to stop the oil getting past. Right, I'm going to take the studs out now, I think. What on earth is going on with that one? The stud should come out. The nut's coming off the stud. These posts are, these longer ones are for the earthing straps and the wiring loom. That's why they've got like a pillar on them. There shouldn't really be that nut, I don't think. Normally there's two nuts, and then you put the put one nut on earthing strap and then the second locking nut, but that seems to be a sort of weird sort of lock nut on there. I'm just doing these in no particular order because they're obviously all fully loose now, so it doesn't matter what order I do them in. not doing the end four because they don't go through the rocker boxes, so I'll do them when I get the rocker boxes off. So exhaust rocker box coming off, and I think the pushrod tubes are coming off as well. Oh, they're staying now. Ooh, those pushrod tubes are pretty gunged. There's obviously been quite a leak down through them, past this these seals. These look like probably the original, well, they're old style seals anyway. So we're going to upgrade those seals to try and stop this leaking down the pushrod tubes, which is a classic Trident leak. This is manufactured in '73. This one. Now, I'm saying that because this is a really weird engine in the fact there are no date codes on the engine number. Now on a Triumph you normally have T150, T150T or T150V. This is a T150V, means it's 73 onwards. And then you normally have two letters like GK. The first one tells you the month, the second one tells you the year of manufacture, and then the actual engine number. But this one, there's no date letters, there's just an engine number. So it's T150V, then no date code, then the number. So it's just a bit strange, but it's just one of those anomalies you get with bikes. Okay, I'm taking these pushrod tubes out. I'm trying to leave the pushrods in because I look at all the oil and that on them. You know, they've been leaking merrily for a while. But hopefully, when we put it back together, we'll stop that. Right, I'm leaving the pushrods because ideally they should go back in the same position. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, but it's just good practice because of the way that things wear. If they go back in the same place, then it's all okay. Otherwise, if they're wrong, then you can have a high spot and that will wear really quickly, and everything will go out of tolerance very quickly, and also end up with metal bits in the engine, which they won't. Again, a rocket. Pushrod tubes coming out with the rocker. Again, clearly been leaking. But everything looks okay. We've got ball-ended adjusters. Yeah, ball-ended adjusters, which they put on later models. They're okay, but what can happen? We'll go on this later. But they're like a ball that's been cut off, so it's like a half orange. The advantage of that is the sort of the top bit is in the rocker, so the flat face can move slightly, so it always flat with the head of the valve. The trouble is, what can happen, and I've done it myself, is you put it together and that whole sort of half ball like twists, and then the side goes against the valve, and then you have to take the whole damn thing apart and move the ball around so it's in the right place. But when they're in the right place, they're fine. It's a mangle gasket. More mangle gasket. More mangle gasket. That, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be doing much, that. It could even be leaking from there rather than down, you know. Maybe this gasket has slipped or something, I'm not sure. Right, good. Okay, so I'm going to take the push rods out now, and I'm going to mark them so they go back in the same place. So I have to think now of a nomenclature. I've got all the big words here, you know. Some sort of code for marking them, so that when I put them back, I go, huh? What's that mean? So I'm going to go timing side. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Oops. So I'm going to go 1. No, I'm not not because the pendant want to know. Pendant want to know on them. I'll try another pen. Yeah, that pen was dead. I put it back in the thing. 1X. So I know that's number 1 on the exhaust side. 2X. So that's the second one, and 3X. And then I've got number 1 in, 1 in. I've got 2 in. And I've got 3, no I'm not. And I've got 3 in. Wow. Now I am confused here. I say wow. This must, I don't know, this must be a late, I don't know. This must be a late engine, a late T150, very late T150. The guy said he thought it was a late T150. Only because the tappets that go on the tappets down here in the engine block, on a T150 they're normally cupped, and the bottom of the push rod has got a ball on it. And then on the T160 they changed it so that the tappets are domed and there's a cup on the bottom of the push rod, which this has. So these are like T160 push rods and T160 later bike domed tappets. So this must be a really late one, I can only assume, which is why there's domed tappets and a ball end on a push rod instead of a dome. Okay. Right, I'm going to turn the camera off for a second because all I'm going to do, and I don't really think you want to see this, but you can, but I don't. I've been going on for a while now. Just need to find the top of the damn pen. Nope, there it is. Right, I'm going to bag the rocker boxes and the pushrod tubes, and they obviously need a good clean. I'm going to bag them first and bag the push rods and everything, get everything out of the way, and then we'll take the head off. Okay, so I'm just going to tidy up a bit and then we'll come back and get the head off. Okay, I've bagged and tagged everything, freezer bags, fantastic, just the best thing ever. Keeps keeps the oil in, keeps the damp out, and you can store them, you know where everything is, so don't get mixed up. Just do that and you'll be okay. Don't do it and you'll regret it. Okay, so we're taking the last of the cylinder head nuts off, which are actually finger tight. It's nice. It's showing up. The engine's dirty, but it's in good condition. It's not been messed about with. Well, not so far. So you look at this and think, oh, what a mess this engine is. But in fact, it's not that bad. It's not been, there's not a great deal been done to it, but in some ways that's probably good. No one's been messing with it. Right, then we've got to see if we can get the head off now. There's various ways of trying to get the head off. I'm going to put number one, put the spark plugs back in. Oh, there's some crud on this engine, there really is. But as I say, it's not been messed about with. There's no real damage. It looks okay, just very dirty. Right, anyway, where were we? Yes. So we can put the spark plugs back in, turn it over. The compression sometimes will help to lift the head off if it doesn't want to come off. But first thing I'm going to do is, we've got the advantage, we've got the inlet manifold and the exhaust manifolds, and they're good places to whack. Obviously we cannot whack the fins, but sometimes they come straight off, other times they don't. break then. What we don't want to do, as I say, is whack them underneath the fins, whatever we do. If they don't move, you have to think again. Put oil down these studs. As I say, maybe put the spark plugs back in, try turn it over. Anyway, what you don't want to do is be whacking underneath the fins. You will bend them, even with a rubber mallet, you'll bend those fins. And then you'll regret it, because they really are a pain to mend. There's not that many people about who are good at mending fins, broken fins. I can't do it. So you need a good alloy welder. Someone knows what they're doing. Anyway, it's coming off. It's coming off. We're just tapping underneath those manifolds. The old rubber. Slip back down again. It's coming. And there she blows. My. Let's say that because there's some sort of piece of rubber sitting on the top of this piston. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's probably a bit of, maybe a bit of gasket or something off the spark plug, maybe. I've no idea. Anyway, what have we got? Yeah, clear signs. Well, there's a big pile of crud on it. Clear signs that it's that centre piston cylinder. That is the one that's the main culprit in terms of burning oil. I don't know if you can see, but it's all shiny and wet with the oil. The others got carbon. They're probably burning as well, but I don't know how well you can see that. But that middle one it's all wet with the oil. So it's definitely the middle one's been burning oil. Definitely, but maybe the altitude might have been burning on as well. But anyway, but it looks, there's no sort of, apart from the surprise of finding that bit of plastic gasket sitting in there, all looks okay. There's nothing ghastly wrong. Okay, heads off, brilliant. So then. Our next job is a bit of tree in the fins. So we'll come back to the head now. I'm just going to leave the head there for now because we're just going to dismantle everything first, and then we'll come back and take the head apart, take all the valves out and that. But the next job I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the barrels from the crankcases. And in order to do that, we need to remove all these nuts, the cylinder base nuts, and there you need a special spanner for those, a star spanner. I'm not quite sure what you call it. It's a tri-core. I'll show you in a minute. It's a little tri-core spanner, and it fits on those nuts. But I'm going to go for a cup of coffee now, because I'm happy with that. The head's come off nice and easy. I'm trying to work out what sort of gasket that is that's on there. Some sort of straight, it's a metal affair, so not sure. There are 3 different types of gasket, and I think this might be a, what do they call it? No, I've forgotten the name of them now. The American thing, what are they called? It's a sort of metal sandwich one. I can't think. They're probably the most expensive gasket. I think that might be it. It's not copper. It doesn't look like composite, so I think it's oh damn, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's a metal sandwich gasket from America. It'll come back to me at some point, I'll tell you. Right, I'm going to go for a cup of coffee, and then I'll come back and do the barrels. All good though so far. Happy.